How's it going, everybody? Happy Sunday. We're not really doing starting over with holiday LEDs again this time. I just forgot to change the title because I was in a hurry. Because I wanted to show you this. What do you think? We're going to talk about more spheres. Spheres, and more spheres today. But first, let me update that title because we're going to say more LED spheres. All right. Let's get rid of all of that. That'll work. All right. How's it going, everybody? Happy Sunday. Thanks for being here. So, what do you think? We are going to talk about some spheres. How's everybody doing? Has everybody got their Halloween stuff up? I saw somebody say you got Halloween decorations up. Are the lights permanent, the holiday, or both? Whoa. They're permanent that you can change per holiday. How about that? They are permanent, but you change them per holiday. I have been working on my outside lights again this week, but most importantly, this thing here, right? This thing here is what we're calling the version 3 of the Atlas. I'm kind of jumping ahead because version 2, we haven't really finished, but DrZzs is working on version 2. We're going to have him join here in a bit as well and talk about that and show us where he's at and what he's got going so far. I am trying to find the link to this sphere from the company that I got it from. They've actually been quite responsive. Vision Pi is the name. Let's see. Nope. Come on, man. Why is it so hard to find? There are a bunch. If you go to, these are all Alibaba. These aren't AliExpress. It's in the Pixel Heads chat. Is that the same one though? I think because there's multiples. This just happens to be the one that I went with. Oh, it's burning my retinas. Burning. Oh yeah, maybe this is them. It's hard to know with these Alibaba things because you never know, like, is it one seller? Is it 4 different sellers? You just don't know. So you kind of, that's the game you play. And what we're going to find out from this one here as we go through today is that it's not, it's going to be difficult to work with the software, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure out something better. It's actually right there on my table. You can see how different it looks on the webcam. It looks like it's, I don't know, like they're black or something, like orcas or something. That's just an artifact of the camera. This right above my head, the big one, that's the good Canon DSLR camera or whatever. So it's a better picture. There's still a little bit of artifact I can see, but it's better certainly than it was. But this is the supplier that I went with. There are others out there, but these guys have been pretty good. They've been pretty responsive. So this one that we have, this one that you see here behind me up there, this is a 0.5 meter diameter. So that's, I don't know what that is in feet, but it's 18 inches thereabouts, somewhere in there. 0.5 meters. Yeah, something like that. So 0.5 meters. It's a P1.9. The camera is upside down. So let's see, these are jellyfish. Those are jellyfish. So So when you buy these things, you have to tell them where you want the mount, which side you want the mount on, up or down, up top or bottom. And we thought, oh well, we're going to want to hang it, so we've got it so that it could hang, um, but it's not hanging; it's sitting on the desk. So I have to. So I turned the camera upside down so the jellyfish are facing the right way, and which will be good because when we do other things on it, it'd be better that it looks right side up than upside down. So to catch you all up, I think everybody probably knows about the big sphere, right? Confusion unknown. Everybody knows about the big sphere. We built the big sphere in the backyard, and there it goes. Now it's connected. We built the big sphere in the backyard, and we knew right then that we wanted to try some other kinds, and so we're trying this one, but then we're also trying the one that John's building. So I'll tell you about this one for another minute or two, and then we'll get John on, and he can show us where we're at, and then we'll just do whatever. We'll take some questions. I think we can try, because I've got this one here running and it's full. We can try and do some different display stuff on it, and we can talk about how it works and some of those things. Okay. And yes, this will be the focus of other videos, full edited kinds of videos. Those are just really hard to make, harder and harder as I get older and older. Okay. All right. So, checking in from the tractor. Hey, Kingfish. Thank you. I didn't get to say hi to number one, Nick. Nick is back on top. Thank goodness. All right. And then we got Ninad, Forco. How's it going? Victor, Nicolas, Nicolau, Neil. All right. Gers made it up there. Lights on Shetland. Who's that? That's somebody else, I'm sure. I know that one. All right. Grammy. Okay, everybody. Well, all right. Let's talk about this one for a minute. So I said it's 0.5 meters. It is made up of panels that look like this. Actually, let me run down and get you the spare parts. I'm going to get the spare parts. I'll be back. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm back. Okay. So let's look at this for a minute. So these are this company did a pretty good job. They sent a bunch of spare parts. They sent an extra controller, which is, I thought, wow, that's amazing. And then I looked at what these cost. They're not that much. But anyways, this is the controller that it uses. They sent 2 of these pieces, and they sent 2 extra of these pieces. Now, this one just is like the cap, so just goes on the top. We can count the rings and stuff on that if we want to, but this is what makes up the sides, and these are flexible. Right? They're flexible. These are magnets right here, and these just mount onto the frame. So that's got a metal frame on it, and these just click in there. They're all kind of loose. There's a power connection, and there's the data connection. Just like a regular, if you've messed with these matrix panels before, that should all be pretty familiar. The difference is there's no frame on it, and so it's somewhat bendable. It's not like super bendable, like I'm sure you could break it pretty easy, but it's somewhat bendable. And then, of course, the shape is what really makes the deal. With this one that I got here, watch this. I'm going to take one of the panels off. Data, power, and then There are 20 of those. All right. 20 of these. This one can be fit indoors. Yeah. Not as big as the original one. Right. Right. That's diameter. Yep. You got it. The LED density on that looks crazy. How big is it physically? There you go. You guys got that. Okay. Answering the questions. Fantastic. Music of the spheres. This controller, as far as I can tell, at least out of the box, there's no audio output. One of the things I'm wondering is if we're going to be able to change to a different controller that might be a bit more full featured and maybe could be used with Falcon Player and X-Lights. I mean, there's pin headers down here. I don't know what all this thing can do. My guess is this is fine for what it comes with, but I think we're going to be trying to decide or trying to test using this with a different controller. So in the meantime, yeah, so here's this. We can go through and count all of these just for kicksies for a minute. We're not going to count them all, but just we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 across the top, and then the next row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But they still, even though they are the same number of pixels, they must be spaced out differently, because from the line, you can't see it too well, but from there to there is definitely different than from there to there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's 3, and maybe this is the pattern all the way down. I'll have to mess with it and see. I'll spend some time counting it when you guys don't have to watch me count them, but probably it's one number of LEDs for 3 rows, and then it goes up by 1, and then it goes 3 rows, and then it goes up by 1 and goes 3 rows. I wonder if down here, probably because the angle that it changes at is greater. So the rate of change here, the angle is different there than it is here. So once we get down here, these are probably more normal in their numbers. So my guess is you've got a lot more of these that are the same number. And then whatever that number is times 20, and that's how many it is all the way around. But the other thing is, I don't know how these are laid out. Probably like a regular panel, which might mean that each one of these goes back and forth. So, man, how they did this thing in the controller, I do not know yet. But we're going to find out. We're going to figure it out somehow. Making all of them different shaped PCBs and all those individually addressable LED pixels can't be cheap. Yeah, this thing is about 3,500. About 3,500, and it's, you saw compared to me. Can that give you an idea of how big it is? It's not huge. It's certainly not huge. It's the size of a beach ball. It's no bigger than a beach ball, really. Lots of magic smoke in there. Okay, let's talk about the sphere that John's building. You guys ready? How dare you call us pinheaders? Did I call you pinheaders? Is there some other controller inside the sphere connected to that? I didn't think the color light had a board on stage. Good question. A board storage. Good question. I will have to look in there and see. I'll have to look in there and see. Let's switch gears for a minute and let's talk about John's. So I'm going to turn this camera off for now. Whoop. And we're going to get John in here. You ready, buddy? All right, here we go. All right. Let me pop this out. All right, there he is. See if we can hear you. Yeah, you want to mute me for sure. All right. No. Let's just keep going like this. You mute me on YouTube. Yeah, so you don't get that echo. Everybody says hi, girls. Hello. Oh yeah. You can pop out the chat box in YouTube. That helps. Yeah. Because then you don't have to have the whole video playing. You just pop out the chat. No sound. Okay, let me fix that. I can fix that. I can fix that. I can fix that. How about now? Say something, John. Doesn't sound like it. Let me try audio. Let's see. Properties. No, still no. We'll get there. We'll get there. I bet now it'll work.
Anything now, guys?
Yep, they got you now.
Okay, good.
Excellent.
All right,
there it is.
So we got version 2 right here, guys. This is so it's coincidentally it's the same size as the V3, and it's 0.5 meters, and it is pretty big. Like that is a good size sphere. Like I think it's going to be perfect size for like putting in your house, but it also could be outside too, right? It's going to be a good outdoor device. There's some issues
with some caveats.
What?
With some caveats. Good outdoor device with some caveats.
We'll talk about those caveats here in a little bit. But I'm super excited. I wish I had a better camera to show you how cool it looks. But
turn off the lights for a second, or are they blinking? You have it on like Color Winkle or something right now?
Yeah, you want me to turn it all off?
Yeah, turn them off for a second so everybody can see how the strips are arranged. Okay, so this is the version that is made out of pixel strips.
Yeah.
So these are 1 centimeter spacing from center to center, and they're just WS2812s. They're IP65, so they are encoded in the silicone, so they can go outside. But in order to make this work, we're soldering each. Oh yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. Turtle says turn the brightness down. That'll help on that.
That was the very minimum brightness.
Holy crap.
Guys, it's like 5%.
Oh, okay then. Never mind. Jeez. So anyways, we're going to have to, so we have the solder points where we have to kind of peel the silicone back and solder. And that's what he's been doing back there. It's not great when it comes to that, but that's necessary. Yeah. We knew that was going to be necessary.
Let me move here.
Oh yeah, do that. Zoom in. Oh yeah.
All right. All
right.
I can't see my camera, so tell me if I'm
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Explain to us what's going on.
So right now, I probably should
5 volts, Robert. 5 volts.
Top down view. You can see. I'll open it up here in a little while, but you can see there's the power supply and the controller in there. Those are not tied up right now. I'm just using this external ditch to go to make things work for simplicity, because I have to keep things moving around a lot. But basically, like I've got it all here, counterclockwise winding around the top, and then it goes from the end to the beginning of the next one. We got them moving all in the same direction. You know, I love these ones because they actually have a nice arrow here to help me remember which direction I'm running. So, because it could get really confusing when you because you got to wind them in the same direction. But if you work in the top half, bottom half, you're gonna keep it set. You're gonna set it on this edge here, and so it'll be opposite directions. You'll have to remember to wind it the opposite direction for the lower half if you end up doing that.
That's something I would not have remembered. I would have messed that up.
In fact, I made sure to over here on this. I drew arrows on the whole thing to make sure I remember. The lower half has them over here. So I made sure to identify that. I'm going to need more arrows to make sure I've got everything in the right direction. But some things that are going really well. Okay. I love the soldering, how it is working. soldering it is a bit of a chore. When it is in this whole sphere thing, I think if you end up soldering things like pre-soldering, you can't do the full solder, but like if you have your ring like this and you can wrap it and then solder things ahead of time, like I think the biggest problem that I have is I just don't have access to the holes and stuff
Reach
that
in
I
there.
do. And so I end up using tweezers, right? I use my tweezers and reach in here and poke the cables through the holes and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a challenge that way.
So what you're recommending is before you build the whole thing, put the LED strips on the individual rings and solder the wires.
Yeah.
And then I guess as you put another ring on, you solder that next ring.
Exactly. And so it'll be difficult because I haven't really thought through all the order, right? Because when you build this, you'll build a half sphere at a time, right? And you'll put the ring 24, you'll start with ring 24 and go 23, 22 and on up. And then that's how the rings want to be built. But when you're wrapping, you want to start with 1 and go to 25 or go to 50 or 49 actually.
Yeah.
But so they want to be ordered differently. And so like I think, but you can have them all printed. You could start wrapping the first layer and then go on to wrap the second layer, so on and so forth. And then what you'll do is you'll drill holes on the end and then put the wires in, and then you'll drill you'll solder to the end, pre-solder all the way to the end here on every single one. And then as you're assembling this, you'll have to go back and probably use tweezers to get the second end inserted.
John, I'm wondering if you start with 24 in the middle, down at the bottom, and you put your strip of LEDs on it, and then say you put your strip of LEDs on 23. Now you haven't put it together yet, so now you've got that ring that's sitting over there on your table. You've got a ring like that, but it's got LEDs on it, right?
Yes.
So then you put that on the frame, okay? Then you get the next ring that has LEDs on it.
Yep.
You put that on the frame, and then right then you solder those two together. Then you should have access from the top to the inside, to the back side of those. That should make the drilling, soldering thing easier. You'll probably still have to use tweezers a little bit because we have big fat fingers, all of us. But at least then you won't have the whole thing built and getting in your way. Which, by the way, had the same problem with the one outside. Once we get it all wrapped, you can't get back inside to do really anything. This is a little bit different though. Tell them how it comes apart and what you do and the power supply and stuff.
Cool. I'm excited about this. Okay, I'm going to set the camera over here for a second. Okay, let me take a look at my camera real quick and make sure I've got.
We can see pretty well. I don't think we see any top secret stuff.
That's weird though. That's just a weird angle. All right. Move that mic. Okay. All right. So this is probably the really cool thing that we were able to do. Okay. So.
And it's not going to run WLED for somebody that said that. It'll be on the Falcon.
Yeah. Thank you.
We'll have to talk about power injection too, because we're going to, at some point down the road, you're able to do, how many do you have on there right now? Do you think? How many LEDs? 500.
No, 1,200.
1,200.
Yes.
Wow. That's why, because
I went through an entire reel of this. These reels are massive. What
10 meters. Those are 10 meters.
10 meters.
Yeah. And we determined these will be 63 meters.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we determined that this will take 63 meters. So it'll take 7 of those 10-meter rolls. Yeah. Now, go ahead, John. Sorry, I cut you off.
I was going to say, a note to us basically is we should order them without any soldering at all. Like we don't need these connectors at the beginning or end or anything.
Okay.
We should just order them. That'll save us a little bit of money.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay, so yeah, we're at 1,200 already, and I've just got 11 rings done, right? So I've got about a quarter of the sphere complete, but not a quarter of the LEDs run, right? So because the actual LEDs are going to get bigger and thicker as in the middle. Not well, more of them is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so this comes apart in halves, just like that. So you'll solder up the whole thing, or like this whole thing will be run, and then we'll have a connector that will be able to go to the lower half, and that will allow you access to the internal guts of it. Okay. So yeah, we've got right now a Culp 16 in here. And so here's how the lower half works. Like I've got a threaded rod in here that has a nut in here that holds it all together. And then I've got the power supply.
And that's a 5-volt 100-amp power supply. That's the one that Quindor did a video on, or a live stream on, a few weeks back.
Yeah.
And then John made this the 3D printed mount that lets the rod go through, and it's got the Culp 16 on one side and the power supply on the other side. Yeah. We're gonna have to. You know what, John? One thing you're gonna hate me.
Uh-oh.
So
what did you do?
On the ports, for those ports,
yeah,
we're gonna need a data output to the lights every, what do you say, guys? Every 500 or 600?
Oh, Justin. Yeah. So
what you'll be able to do is just on the inside of the sphere, you'll be able to just splice. You'll be able to cut the wires, as long as you gave yourself enough wire, hopefully. Did you leave a loop on the inside?
Yeah, there's a
when you're going between strips. Yeah. Okay, great. So we'll just have to tap into those loops. Yeah. What is a Culp 16? Robert says Culp 16 is a board that runs Falcon Pi Player, so you can use X lights. That's going to be the best way to do this. That's what we're going to want to do with this, is X lights. Those rolls, Alan, we had to special order those. We got them from BTF Lighting. So that's who's making those for us. We had to talk them into doing them in big rolls like that.
Yeah.
So
pretty awesome.
So off of each of those, what did we decide? How many LEDs total? 6,300, right? Thereabouts. Yeah. So let's see. Divided by how many, Turtle and et al. How many LEDs should we try and stick to on a certain port off the Culp 16? Do we need to stick to 600, 700, something like that?
Yeah. I think might as well do like 600.
So it'll be an odd number, because what we'll have to do is just count the rows, count how many pixels are on the rows, and then we'll just get to a point where it's like, okay, that's about enough, and then we'll cut it, tap into the to get the data from, we'll do when we cut. So when we cut those, say we get to whatever. So let's see, 800 pixels for 40 frames per second, 1200 at 20 frames per second.
Yeah.
So we could do about 800, which if we did 800, well, either way, you really only going to have to do one splice point so far from what you've done.
Yep.
So that won't be too bad. But no. Here's the idea. The data is going to come from the beginning, all right, and it's going to wrap around, and then we're going to get to a point where we're somewhere between 800 and 1200, okay? And we'll cut again at the end of a row. The end of that row, we will just power inject.
Okay.
At the end of that row, we will power inject. And then the beginning of the next one will come from a new port. So it'll have a new connector.
Yeah. Okay.
Making sense?
Yeah. So
That way you'll have some power injection. You'll be back feeding 5 volts back through that string, which will be good enough. If you have to do more, if you turn it on real bright, you might have to do more and stuff, but I don't think you will. I think we're going to leave it. It's going to be so many lights.
Yeah.
As you demonstrated on 5% brightness, it's plenty.
Yeah.
So then we can
5% brightness so that I could run it off the ditch to go, right?
Yeah, that too.
But
how does it look in person at 5% brightness? Is it still pretty bright?
It's perfect. It's really like, it's pleasant to look at. It's not too bright. It's not like burning your retinas or anything like that. I'm very close proximity. But even like, if I go across into the next room and look at it through there, it still looks really nice. So like anything like in, say, 50 feet is like, yeah, that the low brightness, it looks really nice.
Awesome.
I'm gonna ask. Okay, there's 2 questions here. Is there any benefit at running lower than 800? Right? Do we get, if we run at 700?
Benefit
if we run them at 700 LEDs per channel per port? Is there any benefit in doing that? Do you know?
I doubt it. Let's let these guys answer, but I doubt it. I mean, because if it's about timing and how fast can it give the commands to each LED, 40 frames per second. I mean, maybe we'll get higher frame rates, but do we really need higher than 40 frames per second? I don't think so.
Yeah, let's go 144 frames per second. While we're waiting for that answer, so the rings, they're all 3D printed, vertically. So you just take a ring like this and you print it like so on your printer bed. But then it's pretty cool. Like, I'm pretty proud of how this worked out. These just snap in together, and it's pretty robust, right? Like, yes, I can take it apart, but I haven't had one fall apart or anything like that. If you need to, like, because every printer is a little bit different, tolerances are a little bit different. If you may have to end up gluing them, I doubt it though. Like, if you get your printer dialed in, even a printer that's dialed in 80%, you should have some really good like snapping ability on your printer, and so that these just come in, print really nice. I would suggest when printing it, printing a couple extra each time. The reason for that is there's a high likelihood that these will warp on your bed, and so that these ends don't have a nice square edge to them and all that stuff. So I usually end up printing 2 extra just in case. Sometimes the whole plate turns out perfect. Sometimes I have to throw away a couple. So, all right.
And
Turtle
John
says,
I guess you feel like the model is refined at this point. I still haven't started printing mine. I know we've been talking about it for a week.
Yeah, I think the model is refined enough that we could export it, and they could have access to it.
Yeah. So we'll make it, and it'll be. The plan is for the plans for this and the Sphere and for other things that we make in the future to put it. It'll be available on like for digital download on like DrZzs website, right? For
that's right.
Some small charge. We're not trying to spoil anybody's retirement, but it takes a lot of money and time to do this. And then we'll also going to be offering these as patron offers. Is that right? Okay.
That is correct. Yep.
Yep.
Patreon members will get access to these files.
So if you need an incentive to join Patreon, there it is.
Yeah, and Patreon is a huge benefit. I ran some numbers the other day. I can't remember exactly the numbers, but like if you watch an ad on YouTube, we get a little bit of money from it. But if you subscribe to our channel and help us out that way,
on
it's
Patreon.
like watching. Sorry, yes, Patreon. If you subscribe to our Patreon account, then it's like watching like 6,000 ads. It's a lot. So like it is a direct way to help the channel and help us grow and make bigger and better projects. Because
Yeah.
we have a lot of projects that we want to tackle, and so we appreciate all the members out there helping us out. So giving the digital files to the Patreon members is no brainer. So thanks, guys. Okay,
Okay.
so the did somebody answer the question yet, Justin, about the?
Yeah, Turtle says no benefit beyond 40 frames per second.
Okay,
So
so 800 it is. That's great.
yeah,
So
so
yeah,
and we'll get somewhere in that ballpark, somewhere we can go just under 800. Whatever the end of the ring before it gets to 800, that's where we'll do it. Although we'll probably well, yeah, that'll be fine. So we may even have some that'll be 600 or something like that, Like when we got to the middle of the sphere out here, the big one, we were going 700 LEDs per channel, and we were barely getting around the sphere twice. Sometimes not even twice, right? Because there was 300. No, we were getting around twice because there was 310 around the biggest rings in the middle. So
right.
I don't know what this is going to be. I'm excited to hear when we count them all out, what it ends up being.
It's growing fast, right? Like obviously the small ones, they didn't have a lot, but like I have to go into WLED the WLED and keep changing the number to get things to run correctly.
Have you counted as you've been going?
No, I probably should. Well, it doesn't really
You can
matter.
do it with software after. You can just go through by doing what you were doing.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll go back and find where 650 is or something like that, or 750, and figure out where the beginning is. But it would probably be like, we should be able to get the first, I think 6 or 7 rings, and then the next 4.
Good question. Alan says, can the YouTube members get the files also? Probably. We'll figure out a way to do that. I think that's a way to do that.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. We're just
no. It's just the system. We'll have to sort out, because Patreon makes it. Well, do they make it easy? I can't even remember now if we decided that they made it easy. But anyways, yes, Alan. People who subscribe as YouTube members also. Yeah, we'll make sure you get those files too.
Yeah, and if for some reason like you want the files and that you haven't and you are a member and in one of the platforms, let us know. Yeah, just let us know. We can fix that.
Hopefully the demand will grow, but right now we haven't had anybody knocking down the doors for the files just yet.
Yeah. Okay.
When they see how much we struggle.
One last thing.
Great.
And so I'm really excited how these turned out. These vertical supports. Can you see that? Okay,
yep.
Justin?
Yeah, we can. We see it real well.
All right. So you got the vertical supports here. And these are printed in 3 different parts. I'll show you those in just a second. But then I have these brackets right here that join the 3 different parts together. But here's the thing that I love about this is that you can kind of see that there's this white stuff right here. That's actually just filament, right? So I took some spare filament and I used a different color on purpose so that people could identify it. But you just take spare filament and run it through the holes and then melt it. And you can melt it with a glue gun, hot glue gun, if you're using PLA. I'm using PLA, just regular PLA, not PLA plus, and melt it with a hot glue gun, and it creates a really strong joint. Because like things in shear, it's really hard to break things that are in shear. And so this is going to be a super strong joint. I'm super excited about it. Let me show you what all the pieces look like separately. So here's the 3 different pieces. Sorry. Here's the 3 different pieces. And then here's the brackets that go with it. And you'll just drill out these holes, because right now I don't have these drilled out really well. You drill them out to a like a 1.8, 1.9 millimeter hole, and then you'll stick your filament in there. filament is about 1.75, and so you'll have just enough clearance to get it through, and then you melt it, and it creates a really strong bond. Well, not a bond, but a really strong joint. So I'm super excited about that.
And you said you're just using PLA. Somebody was asking about, is PLA going to be strong enough to hold the weight?
We will find out. So, yes, I'm confident that PLA can hold the weight. And the reason why is all the structural members are going to be steel, right? So, like right now, all this is on PLA, and that's going to be strong enough. I guarantee it. Because the LEDs, though they are, yes, like rivets, like plastic rivets, Clown, Mr. Clown.
Rambozo.
So, but I would not trust PLA to hold the power supply and just by like onto the frame. So that's why I've got the threaded rod. So you'll hang this or support it however you want. And the threaded rod will take all the load, right? Because this power supply is heavy. And so we've got PLA. Yes, I do have PLA holding this, but it's a very small amount, right? The threads are actually held on by the nut, and then the nut transfers it to this super thick piece of PLA. I printed it as super dense. 5 wall layers, 5 floor and 5 ceiling layers, and like 25 to 30% density. So that is a super dense piece of plastic. But yeah, that was an excellent concern that I brought up, an excellent point brought up, because that is one of my concerns, is making sure that this will not creep over time. Because that's the worst thing about plastic, is creep. I love working with plastics, but creep is going to kill a lot of plastic products, because it just, over time, it just relaxes.
Two other questions here. One is the heat from the LEDs. How's the PLA going to hold up? I don't think we won't know until we've run it for a while and we see how hot it really gets. They do put off some warmth, but it's always going to depend on how, one good thing is these are 5 volts. So they don't have like a voltage splitter resistor that's just putting off heat. Like 12 volt pixels are going to get hotter than one of these will, because these are just 5 volts. They're not trying to waste any voltage or any power anywhere. So they're not going to make as much heat. And these are eco as well. These are WS2812B eco. So they should use less power and hopefully produce less heat. And then somebody brought up the other question when we said waterproof with some caveats. Yes, right now the power supply and the culp are not waterproofed. You made a astute observation. I think we'll come up with something that we can maybe put over it or put around it, but this is not something you probably want to keep outside. I think you can take it outside, but I would say take it outside, display it for a while, do something like that, and bring it in. If it's, you're not going to want to leave this out for hours. For days. You're not going to want to leave it out if it's raining or snowing or something like that. But yeah, I think we can do something like an umbrella, like another something inside there that we could put on the thread that might just, at least if stuff's falling from the top, it'll just kind of go around it. But yeah, it's not going to be, you're not going to spray it with a hose. If you spray this with a hose, it will die. You will kill it. You will
for sure.
Yeah.
But I am going to start looking about like some sort of box that we can put in there that would capture the power supply and the board, and drill a hole through the top and bottom and mount that.
Yep. That's what Robert just said. Get a box, drill the hole in the top and the bottom, make it waterproof. Yeah. So
Robert. Yeah.
Right now we're in make it work mode.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
No.
No, I mean,
all right. If you guys have suggestions on the boxes, let me know. Like I'd love to see what we have out there. Like I know a few electronic boxes, but if you know the one that's just perfect size to fit inside a 5-meter sphere, that'd be great.
Okay, somebody good enough engineering just subscribed, so we're gonna play the unicorns.
Good enough engineering. That's perfect.
That's what we do.
So you're right, Robert. PLA is not the best.
It's not outdoor friendly. You're right.
Outdoor applications. Pet G would be a better one.
And a box would probably need vent and a fan. Yeah. So
Yep.
we're gonna learn some things, but yes, you're right. Probably vent and you know, PLA Pet G. We did the top of the big Atlas out here, the big one in my backyard. The top of that is out of Pet G, and that was such a pain in the butt to print. I mean, I know it's not. It might just been I needed to dial in some settings better and such, but it was a mess. It was not as. It wasn't. I used to print ABS all the time, and ABS was easier than Pet G for me. This go around, so limited experience, but that's what it was. Spray all the soldering joints with that spray wire insulation stuff. Ooh, that'll make it waterproof. Yeah. You can, little dabs of some sort of silicone or hot glue to get some of those points. But again, we're going to try and make it so it's not too bad. We can't 3D print aluminum. Yep. So Robert, we even thought about when we were talking about this at one point, we talked about what about little thin strips of aluminum? So you make your frame out of plastic like that, but for the LED strips, you back them just with a thin piece of aluminum.
That's a good point. So you could potentially change the design a little bit so that the vertical supports then have like a support runner that you could like rivet to or screw to or something like that, and then you could run the LEDs on that. And I think that's a great way to do it. But we just needed to. I wanted to make this super cost effective and super easy to build, right? And so that's why we went with just 3D printed everything. But if you are absolutely set on putting this outside and making this a fixture outside, then yeah, you're gonna have to make some changes in order to make that happen. And I think if you could find some strip that is 10 millimeters wide, it has to be 10 millimeters, or it could be a little less. It could be less. Then we can work on adjusting this design to make it completely outdoor.
For now, there's no more massive changes to this one though. For this one,
that is correct.
No more massive changes. We're gonna get this one done, so we can see what it looks like. We can get a few more built. We can see and then we'll start making some suggestions for the next go round, which will be, who knows, version 4 or 5, somewhere in there. SK6812s, no. I don't know that you have a big reason for a white channel on these unless you really wanted to recreate the sun.
That is true.
Yeah. All right, John, you're doing amazing, dude. That is so good. So good.
I'm super excited. I wish I could show you guys appropriately how cool this looks. And we're working on different connectors to make this easier to make, right? We're working on different things to simplify the fabrication of this. But this is version 2.1 or .0. V2.0. We'll have the 2.1, I'm sure, and the 2.2.
Yeah, mine will be a 2.1. Mine will be 2.1. And John is the one paying the price right now for us to learn from his process of putting it together. Because he's already telling me, okay, when you do yours, do this different, do it in this order, like the stuff he was sharing at the beginning. So, and they say respect for Chopper and the Imperial Pulse Ride. Yeah.
Yes. I love those guys.
Yeah.
The Chopper's my son's, but he lets me keep it in here.
Awesome. All right.
Sweet, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
See you, man. Okay. All right. So I want to do something here for a second because I got some questions. We had somebody come on that made use of a feature. So this is Joe who? Joe from upstate New York, right? You still here, Joe? Joe made use of a feature from Patreon that I did not even know was a thing, but apparently, and maybe it's just because we're trying to get Patreon more, make better use of it. But he sent me some questions. And so I thought, what the heck? I'll take a minute, let me take a few minutes here. We'll answer some of these questions because this is probably not just Joe that would have these questions. And then to wrap up for the last hour or so, we will start putting some more things on that display. So let me put that display back up for a second because everybody wants to see this. And let's make this thing front and center. Yeah. Yeah. How about that? Okay. So here's some of the questions. All right. So Joe he's putting up LED strips. He's installed 500 so far. Added one injection point. They're 5-volt strips from Altove installed on the underside of the gutters. One power supply, 30 amps. Bought a Dig quad. When I do the same on the second story, will I have to go? No, I will have them go to another power supply. We'll have them go to another power supply. But do I need a second controller too, since they won't be on the same power supply? You don't have to. You don't have to have a second controller when you're on a separate power supply, but it's probably best practice to do that. You could probably use an Uno instead of a quad if you didn't want to use a quad. You didn't want to get a separate quad. It's nice to try and stick with one controller. You could, I think you could probably, so you say you need a second power supply. So are you sure you need a second power supply? Can you they're 5 volts. How far is it from your first floor to your second floor? I would think you might want to try and run, say, 5 wires from your current quad up to where you want your other strips to be. 2 being an extra plus minus for power injection, and then the 3 that would be the plus data minus from the channel off the quad going up there. If you run into problems with the effects looking flickery or the LEDs misbehaving, you could put a data booster halfway through. 5 volts, it's harder to go longer distance with 5 volts, but you might not need a second power supply. So unfortunately, Joe, there's not a perfect answer for that question. The answer is maybe and probably. Similar setup with 1 power supply, 1 quad. There you go. See, Trek Nerd has done it. So Trek Nerd, you've got you have 1 power supply and 1 quad, but you just split it and ran it up like I was just saying, right? You just ran up from the quad up to the second floor or whatever. I think that's what I would try, because when you start having multiple controllers, it's okay. And I've done it on my house, but I wish I hadn't. It would be much better to have one. Excuse me. It'd be much better to have 1 power supply and 1 controller if you can. And most likely you can. And I would say try it and make it prove that it won't work before you give up, right? It's one of those things that's like, well, I want to do it this way, so I'm going to do it. And then if it doesn't work, then I'll change my plan. But I want it to work this way, so I'm going to try. Robert says 4 Dig2Gos, which I love, to run the LEDs throughout the gaming center Lego display. Wow, I want to come to your house. Gaming center Lego display. Might have to upgrade to one of the larger Dig versions, but the power requirement stuff is a bit intimidating. Go ahead. It's okay to not know right away, Robert, and it's okay to learn and to make mistakes, and don't be worried about it. I think with a little bit of trial and error, you'll get the hang of it, and you'll be comfortable with, bigger devices with more power or whatever. I don't want to, it's not that hard to use like a quad or an Uno or an Octa to do even some of those kinds of good indoor displays. And the power distribution part becomes a lot easier once you've done it a little bit and you're comfortable with it. All right, so let's see. He's got other questions. Regard to the controller and settings questions. Can you alter anything on a preloaded preset? Halloween preset, can you change the colors but maintain the program? So what you want, I think what you're saying there, Joe, let's turn this off for a second. I think what Joe's saying, oh gosh, which one was it? Yeah, 6.3. I think what Joe's saying is if you pick one of these, like, is there one of these that's called Halloween? I can't remember. Halloween Eyes. So if you pick this one that says Halloween Eyes, now this is the latest version of WLED. So this is version 14. So there's extra stuff here. If you're on an older version, you might not have some of this. If your effect, this is the effect, if your effect has this little palette, this little paint palette icon, that means that whatever you pick over here for the colors will affect this effect. So let's turn it on and then we'll do peak. Okay, so right now we've got purple background, which is here. The background is purple. And then we've got these two little orange dots. Okay. If I wanted to switch that, maybe I want the foreground to be green and I want the background to be orange, right? I can do that. So I think that's kind of what Joe's asking is if he has an effect and he wants, can he change the background? Now there's some effects where that's not the case. Okay. There's some effects that are not changed by the palette. So here's one, flow stripe. When flow stripe is selected, there's no color changing options for this particular effect. And if you look at this effect, there's no little palette icon. This is all new stuff. This didn't used to be like this. We didn't used to have this much of a front facing indicators in the user interface that said, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. And this didn't adjust either. So this is all just fantastic work. Christian and the guys that do work on WLED, they're fantastic. Head over to their GitHub and buy them a coffee because they are fantastic. So flow stripe does not do that. And here's another one. I just saw another one. Frequency wave. This one is also, it doesn't let you, this one is responding to a microphone and there's not a microphone connected to this particular device. So that's what that little symbol means. It's responding to a microphone. All right. So the answer to your question there, Joe, is most effects, yes, you can change the colors. Any of these that have a palette behind them, you can change the color. So beats per minute, you can change the colors. Right now it's got a green thing. You can change that to red. Or you can go down here and pick something like C9, and then it'll be a whole bunch of different colors, right? It'll be green and blue and red in different times, in different places, see? You can change it to fire. Okay? So yes, in most cases, you can change some things about the effects. And then not only that, but you can typically change, and it'll tell you down here at the bottom what you can change as far as the sliders. So this one has a speed, but others have other things like, let's see. So this one has a speed and an intensity. So this will change, you have multiple things you can change. There are others that have a lot more. I'm not going to probably be good here. This one has boost, whatever that means, and spark rate and cooling. I don't know what that means, but it means you can select this effect and you can make adjustments to it down here. So it doesn't have to just be the default. There is an infinite number of ways you can customize the different effects in WLED. All right, 2 more questions and then we'll get to this version 3 of the Spear. Is it okay to add 5-volt power anywhere, or does it have to be at the beginning of the strip? Yes, you can add it anywhere. It doesn't matter. Typically, the strips have extra wires already soldered to the PCB at the end and the beginning. So those are good places to do your power injection because it's convenient. But if you don't mind soldering in the wires somewhere else onto the board, you can put them anywhere you want. And if you're working with pixels instead of strips, then you can splice them in anywhere, in between any 2 pixels, anywhere along the thing that's in a convenient spot for you. You can splice in and inject power. Do the power injections I add all have to go all the way back to the controller? No, they don't. That's probably best practice, but you don't have to do that. In fact, if you just had a parallel set of wires running all the way along the strip, and then wherever you needed to inject power, you just, almost like train tracks, you just got an extra pair of wires running, and then you get to the end of a strip or you get to a point where you want to inject power, you just connect to those 2 wires, And then those 2 wires keep on going. So now you just got a T right at that section. And then those 2 wires keep on going. And then the next point, you do that again. That means now all that current is going to be split, instead of being split between each pair, if you were running home runs from the power injection point all the way back to the controller, that would split up your current a lot. It would divide it each time. If you just run the train tracks and then you just tap in along the way, you're basically just going to be splitting the current between those power injection wires, the 2 power injection wires, the tracks, and the LED strip itself, which is usually not a big deal. You're not going to have 20 amps or 50 amps or something running through there most of the time, so it should be okay. But that's the benefit to running the home runs, is that you get to split out the current each time. All right. And it's a good idea to have fuses every now and then. Steve makes a great point. And that's the nice thing about the home runs, is it typically, once you get back to the controller, you can add those to a new fuse. So you don't have all that wire all on one fuse or no fuse. Okay, what else? Power injection, I have to go back. Nope. Can it be joined midway through another set of injection wires? Yes, that's what I just was saying. And then he says, what do you think about using a Raspberry Pi? And are there any videos about it? So Raspberry Pi for controlling LEDs, not great. Not great. The only times I've really done it, I know that there's little bits of code that can do it. In fact, all this stuff that's running WLED is all based on libraries that you could run with the Raspberry Pi. I think most of them are for Arduino technically, I guess, but they can run to tell LEDs what to do. But it's just so effective to use these, especially now the ESP32 boards are so good at doing this, that having a Raspberry Pi with it, I don't think you add anything to it. I think running it with a Raspberry Pi, you've got a lot of you got a lot of extra stuff you don't need. Unless you're starting to doing Falcon Pi Player, in which case you're doing something different with the Raspberry Pi in that case. There are Pi hats that I would use for a Pi, and they work, but most run Falcon Pi Player, another software. That's right. And that becomes a bit of more of a, for the bigger shows and stuff, right? I think there's better options for the Raspberry Pi, but so overqualified for the job, it's kind of just extra effort to use it. That's how I feel about it. Confusion. I feel like that would be a lot of extra complexity that you don't need. But if you find something you want to do that you can't do with WLED, you can do it with X lights. And with X lights, you do want something like a Falcon Pi Player, which could be a Raspberry Pi, or one of these other ones like the Culp that we were talking about that's running that sphere. All right, Joe, I'm sorry if you missed that. I will let you know in Patreon that we answered your questions. You can go back and watch it. All right, let's go back to this for a minute. Now, let me show you. Well, let's go back to this. We're going to the desk cam for a minute here. Where's my desk cam? Oh, it's behind there probably. I got to turn this one off. Yep, there we go. Okay. So I was showing you these. Let's show you the app. And you're going to be so disappointed in the app. So this is the app for this sphere. It's just called LED Magic. All right. And once you've connected the sphere to the network, to your network, and your phone is connected to the same one, it actually finds it. It will find it right there. So that's what we're going to do. So right now it's connected, and that gives you the IP address there. That's nice as well. So now what you do is you go into Programs, which is this button over here. And then all you have here, these are programs. I made these, but to make one, you add this, and you have to select a device. All right. So I only have one device. So this is assuming you have other devices. Sorry, that's not showing up very well. It's adjusting too, which doesn't help. So I select this device, has to have that little check mark. This tells me what the LED layout is. 617. Can't really see it. 617 by 281. Okay. So now it's given me these options down here. Now I have not messed with all of these yet. I've just been doing this because this will display it on the whole thing. So I select that and then confirm. All right. Oh, I got to name it. So we're going to just, right now I'm just putting a bunch of demos in. So I'm just naming them by their numbers. Okay. Now it gives me a blank slate. With this blank slate, That must have some other controller in there that's talking to the color light. Okay, well, that's good news, right? Because that means we can change what that other controller is that's talking to the color light. The color light, when Turtle's talking about color light, he's talking about this. This is the color light panel driver, basically, for driving an LED matrix. And this is what's inside that sphere, but there must be something else inside that sphere as well. We'll crack into it and find out. Okay. All right, so I was going to show you. So this is the slate, basically. If I click on that, now it says I get to add stuff to it. So what can I add? I can add an image. I know you can't see this. I'm so sorry. Okay. Image, video, digital clock, analog clock, text, web, weather, document, sensor. Not very useful, really. So let's start with an image. So we'll add an image. And let's add an image. Here, I just have this one of the Earth. So we'll do that. Added that image. Okay. And then publish. And then you have to choose the device. And now it's going to upload it. And then it will display it. There it is. Now, there's no options in here for spinning. Here, let's do this. We'll put the desk cam. Move the desk cam up here. You turkey. Desk cam. I've probably got it locked. All right, there we go. We'll put that up there. We'll make it smaller. Nobody really cares about the desk cam, do you? No. There we go. All right, beauty. How is it connected to the network? Wi-Fi? No, there's an Ethernet port on it, Turtle. And that's in fact the only things that this base has. The only connections that this thing has are an Ethernet jack and a power cord. That's it. There's no button, on off. There's no USB port. Nothing. Just power, Ethernet. That's it. What is this lamp? Whoa. This is an LED sphere. This is an LED sphere, my friend. So if you tried to, let's go back here. We're going to make a new program again. Okay, you can see me up there a little bit. Make a new program. We know that that's the device. We're going to use that thing. We're going to confirm it. We're going to go in here. We're just going to grab some crap. We're going to just grab a video off of my phone. Let's find a good video here off the phone. Hold on. Find something. Oh gosh. So this is so far, this is kind of not great, right? I mean, if all we can do is upload videos and stuff off the phone. It's not ideal. I would love there to be a better way to do this, which is why we're talking about trying to do something different with the controller. Gosh, don't really have any. I have no good videos on my phone. What is wrong with my? Why don't I take any good pictures of anything? We'll do this. These are pictures. This is the kids on a boat. Okay. And then publish. Select that. Confirm. Takes a second to upload it. And there it is. Actually, that's not bad. That's actually not bad. That's kind of fun. It's only about a 10-second long video of them on like a paddleboard. Huh. Very interesting. PoE would be sick if it supported that. Would let you mount the cooler places, I guess. Could be completely wrong about the color light, but I didn't believe it in onboard storage. We'll see. Play a Megasphere Mini on it. Let's do that. Okay, we're gonna play the Megasphere Mini on it. because I do have plenty of that. Oh, okay. Confirm. Go here. We'll get another video. And yeah, it says output like audio output, but there's no here. We'll do this one. Oops. So here's what we're gonna have to do though. I'm gonna have to like I don't have the videos here that would be really good. Like let's try the eyeball and that kind of stuff, right? So we're gonna try the eyeball. It's loading. This is taking a bit longer. I need to find, oh, I know what I can do. Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna make sure that, okay, there we go. Oh gosh. Oh, I know what happened. Oh geez. It looks like it selected too many of them. It didn't mean for it. I must have accidentally bumped some of these others. Okay, there we go. Done. Done. Now publish that. Yes. Here we go. This is going to be the sphere playing a video of the sphere. Okay, and then I was going to go to send myself an email because there's no good way to get files onto an iPhone from a computer. And then we're going to grab some of these. We're going to grab some of these files that are from Atmos. Okay, there it goes. There it is. That's a video of the sphere on the sphere. But see, I need a video, like I need that, like this, just flat and round so that I can just put it on there, you know? Really pricey, yeah, $3,500. Yep. That is right. Project Atlas. I am. You want to come say hi? DrZzs is going to come say hi. Look at that. Look over there. It is a little laggy too. It looks so much better in person even. So much better in person. All right. Let's see. Let's see. There you are. There you are.
Hi. Saying hi to everyone. I'm going to go over there.
Where are we going? Oh, it's already almost.
It will be at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
I just have to cook some things over there.
Okay. See you in a bit. Bye. We have there's lots of family events going on right now. We have somebody getting married, and not my kids or anything, but eyes. Yes, this is what we want. Okay, humanoid. Yes, this one. Okay, I'm gonna send this to myself. Okay. This is going to suck because this is going to be such a big file. Like I wish I could make it smaller. So all of these steps is what we need to sort out, right? Because I have to take this big video file, which is 75 megabytes, email it to myself, download it on my phone, then upload it to this app. And then the app dumbs it down to, you know, pretty crappy resolution. If I could just, I don't know, there's several ways we can probably go about trying to do it better, but this is what we're stuck with for now. But not forever, because we're going to fix it. We're going to make it better. All right, now I'm going to take this. Now I got to try and download this. Video is still processing. Yeah, I bet it is. We're just going to download it. Ooh, it said website. I wonder if I could do it as a link. Share. Is it possible to do something smaller, like on a desk? This is as small as these guys make this. There may be others. I mean, if you guys remember a couple years ago, click on the model in X-Lights. Do You guys remember years ago when I tried to build that little sphere that somebody had done on like Hackaday or whatever, and he had a little video about it. It was like a baseball size, and you had to like individually solder. I don't know what it was. It wasn't that many, 30 or 40 LEDs maybe at the most. Click on the model in X-Slides, right click and render and export. Okay. I really want to download this one. Yeah, well, I'm starting up X-Lights, so we'll get X-Lights up and we'll see if we can export, if we can make a video and export something from the sequence. Okay, so you say, let's see, Turtle's telling me how to do this. Model in X-Lights. Oh, once I need to open a sequence probably, right? All right, so here's a sequence. We're going to switch this off for a second. So here's a sequence. Go into the timeline. So you say click on like this, render and export. Is there a, oh, just right click it. Render and export. Okay. See what happens. Format LCB. What is that? What's LCB? Oh, I can as an, oh, yes, yes, yes. We can do it as a video. As an MP4. Okay. Let's try this. Ooh, this might be really good, right, Turtle? Because if we can do this, then we can make sequences in here, just export it and upload it. Oh, I like what you're thinking, my friend. Where did that thing just go now? Now I got to figure out where it went. X-Slides. Okay, great. That's my email. You don't want that. We'll go back to displaying this for a minute so I can look at my emails. All right. There is a desktop application for this, but I'm feeling a little bit worried about installing it. Probably rendering should say at the bottom. I think it finished. I lost where it went again. Render export. So X-Lights Project Atlas. Okay. Z. X-Lights Project Atlas. Z. X-Lights. It's not there. Z Atlas X-Lights. Oh my gosh, idiot. There it is. It's not there. All right, let's try this one more time. Right click, model, render and export. I don't want to call it stretched shadow model. I'm going to call it starting export for uncompressed video. Okay. So it's still doing, it says done rendering. Dang it. Why is it not there? Maybe if I just leave it at that name. I don't know why that would make any difference. Starting export, done rendering. Oh, maybe it's, does it need to render and then export? Should be. No, it's just not, it's not showing up in this folder where it says it's putting it. No idea how this will work or look, but it's an idea. Yeah, it doesn't seem to want to. Maybe it's, I mean, I'm hitting render and export and it says it's done rendering, but it doesn't tell me that it's exporting. And I don't, it's not showing up in the folder where it says it's going to show up, unfortunately. So let's go back to this and let's try and download this video. I want to save this. It made me. This is why we need to do something else with this controller. All right, we're just going to save it here somewhere. Ooh. Save to files. I'm just trying to get that video of the eye on my phone so that we can put it on the video. Does the controller support E131 like normal? You know what I was going to do? Yeah, Steve's right. I do need to go in a minute. Let's go. Let's try one other thing. One thing I wanted to try was, what if we made a controller here? Like, what if that, because it's connected to the network, I mean, what if we could find it here, right? We know the IP address. I've got that. Let's see. Hmm. 235. All right. I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything else about this. Unzip the folder you sent in Discord. Okay. So even that, I'm going to have to like email to myself. Okay, so there's the stretch shadow matrix AVI. Oh my gosh, that one's even bigger. No, that's 953 megabytes. That's not going to work. We can't do that. That was a good try though. What do you think? Thanks for trying, Turtle. There's got to be a better way than from the phone, you know, or from computer to phone. I wonder if we can go up here and find. You think there's a what did you call it? Color lights? Doesn't look like it. I don't know if there's any moon. It's also like moon something. See if we could find it here. If it was on this list ever, we could do it. They do have a computer app. Let me find it. I did download it somewhere. I haven't played with it at all yet, but that would be a better way, at least a computer app. I've got a message into them asking them about X lights and about other controller options. So this is the link to their computer app. So LED Magic Setup. So Moon Cell Tech is the name of the company that makes the software for this. I mean, I don't know. Color light isn't in X lights. Discover button. Ooh. Try that. Where's that discover button? Oh yeah. Probe the network for a list of unused controllers. Matches an existing controller's IP address. It has a different description. Oh. I think it just found that one and had a different description. Okay, so we downloaded that. Let's look at it. Let's go to the folder where it's at. Let's try and install it. Okay, zip. Yeah. All right. That's going to take a little time. It's going to take a little bit of time. Yeah. That's going to be a little bit scary. So we're not going to save this either. I'm going to just close this for now. We're going to wrap up. But now we've got a new sphere. We've got a new, two new spheres almost by the time John's done with that other one. For what it's worth, for everybody who's wondering, the sphere has been working really well outside. It's been, let's put something else on there. It's been turning on every night, and it's been functioning great. I've got speakers on it on the outside, so people can come by and see it. Did we decide if there's something else feeding into that color light card? Color light and X lights in FPP with LED panels, I think. Okay. We'll get it sorted out, fellas. We'll get it sorted out, but we're making good progress. This is lots of fun. I'm going to have a real show too for whoever's out there been giving me a hard time about having a show. I've got I think last week we talked about how I had put some lights up around the windows and such. This week I didn't have as much time, but I have 3 new control boxes. I have one for my main front of the house, which is an Octa, the Dig Octa, and a Power 5 board that's with WLED running that. In the back of the house, I've got a main box that has a Culp 32, a 12 volt and a 5 volt power supply. So I have separate halves of the Culp 32. One is going to be the 5 volt half. One's going to be the 12 volt half. And then I have, coming off of one of the Ethernet connections there, a satellite with the dumb receiver going over to the castle to run those lights. Driven by something else. I have the color light on my P5 panels. Driven by a Pi. You know, there must be something else in there then. Tim, you got to come say hi. Come knock on the door when you come by. I'm sorry. Could you hear it? You drove by and you could see it. Oh, no. Yes, it's driven by something else. I'm sorry what you're saying. Tim's not saying he drove by my house and saw the sphere. Forgive me. I read that a little too fast. You need to upload a video from the sphere's first Halloween. That's true. What I'll have to do is get some footage of some kids and stuff out there. I'm gonna get the smoke machine going and all that stuff. So what I'm gonna do, I have family obligations here for the next couple hours again, but then later tonight, maybe I'll pull a couple panels off and peek around in there and see if I can see what else is running that thing. All right. And our FPP setup, yes, that's how we run the panels, feeding color light, but I don't know about how they're natively controlled. I thought the color light was pretty much just taking commands. It had any smarts. I could tell you from the price of these, from how cheap these are, this color light board, I doubt that there's much smarts to it. Something else has to be telling it what to do. Pretty sure. So we'll find out. We'll dig inside there and find out. So any last minute questions or comments or things you guys want to go over real quick before I take off again? That was a lot of fun. Look how exciting, we went from what is this thing in Vegas to this, right? Pretty awesome. Still laggy. Yeah, this one looks great, but it is spendy. Yeah. This one, this is you need to use this for something other than just displaying stuff in your backyard or your front yard. If you're going to use something like this, it's got to be like something you use to advertise for your business, or that you rent out to advertise for other people's business or something like that. You can definitely get people's attention with it. That's for sure. So, okay. All right, guys, I'm going to take off. That was fun. John, thank you so much. Where is the knowledge on the one that's in the screen? Oh, there's some links. There's some links further back to this one. This is the one that's on the screen right now is the one that DrZzs is talking about that we purchased for about $3,500, and it's not very big. It's 18 inches about, so it's not that big. It's about that big. So you can see it over my head there. That's it. It's sitting on the desk. So it's not that big, and the control options for it are pretty limited and not fantastic. So we're working on trying to make that better, make it more useful. I think, this is where, sometimes in the China stuff, if we need to bridge the gap between what China has made available and what they've made usable. This is available, but it's not super usable for most Americans. But we can bridge that gap. So anyways, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great week. No idea what's going to be happening next weekend. Probably will stream. I should be able to stream next weekend. So we'll see what we've done between now and then. Okay. As always, thanks for... Oh, wait, should we get the kids in? Nah. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time, adios.